Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, I was fortunate to talk with Ethan Carr this morning. Ethan is really, to me, one of the great success stories about our fishing program in Massena. He's a local Massena boy that has risen to, in the top tier of professional fishermen around the country. He's placed so highly in all the tournaments that we have here, and he's gone on to fish tournaments in every state in the union, basically, where there are tournaments held. And Ethan is now a guide on the river, and so if I invite families to come here and enjoy the tremendous fishing that we have, Ethan is the person I will call to be able to take them out on the St. Lawrence. And, a lot of times the St. Lawrence can be intimidating for a new fisherman. And I asked Ethan, I said, how about right now? How is the fishing right now? And he says, well, actually, he said, I think it may be the very best of the whole year, with the exception of when the ice first goes out in the St. Lawrence. But right now is incredible. He was out a couple days ago. He had a father and his son that he took out fishing on the St. Lawrence. His son was 12 years old, and I said, Ethan, how did everybody do? He says, well, actually, they got a bag of bass. Now, I'm not saying they kept this bag, but that's how we measure in tournament fishing, is how heavy the bag is you bring in. He said that bag was over 25 pounds. And honestly, for a 12-year-old kid to be able to go out and catch a 25-pound bag would win most tournaments held in our area. I mean, that's that's 5 bass that they caught that were over 5 pounds. This is absolutely amazing. And I asked Ethan, I said, well, listen, I know a lot of times guides and especially pro fishermen don't want to give away their secrets because that's their life. Their secrets is what lets them rise to the top. He said, no, I'm more interested in any ways that I can get kids into fishing, because he says, I know how much it's affected my life. And so he says, one of my sponsors has been Beast Coast. That's like this beast you see in the jungle, Coast. That's what this company is, and they make all kinds of artificial lures. And he said they were using one of their jigs that was, I can't remember the exact weight, but he says he caught these fish in 35 feet. And, when you have a company that you can rely on their products, and that's what he does, that's his life, really. But 35 feet of water is where they were catching these fish. And they were using jigs. And he says, but it won't be long. Right now, I can see more and more edging into the real shallow water in like 7 feet to right up until where it's shore. To hardly any depth at all. He said, this is sort of a transition phase that these fish in the St. Lawrence will go through. So there are a number of fish right now in that ultra shallow water, but he says a lot are now sort of heading out to the deep, deep winter grounds where they spend the winter in the much deeper water. So the fishing right now, he says, is as good as it can be all year. And that's really special. There's not many people taking advantage of this, but if you get the opportunity to go out, maybe use this tip that he was getting them in 35 feet, but they will very soon be even shallower, right up until the shoreline. And then later in the fall, they will start going really deep. But this is really great news. And Ethan's story, to me, is sort of the top stage of what we've been trying to do for years here. The fact that our fishing program of what we're doing, bringing people to the St. Lawrence River to catch fish and using that as a catalyst for our growth of our area, that this is a real success story, that one of our local kids can actually go out and now become part of the top tier of professional fishing. And it's a tough journey that he has in front of him. It takes a tremendous amount of dedication and skill. Well, apparently Ethan really has a skill. I'll be interested in talking to him about what has made him one of these great fishermen for our area. Another person that's a local person that I'm really proud of, well, there's a number of them that have really been doing really well in our tournament trail, but I like to give credit to people that have made our area proud. And a couple of them I can think of is Jonathan Robela and Jesse Spellacy, and there's so many. But I, as the weeks go on, I want to give more credit to the people that make this possible. But I am so thrilled that Ethan is now a part of our quest as we go forward to make this area so special for people to come and see that this is one of the great parts of living in the North Country that we have here. So until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.